Oh, hello. Welcome. My name is Remington Reynolds. Today we will be covering the D'Amico Wine Service Course 101. We will try to demystify some of the confusing points that arise during wine service. There are many different ideas on wine service. These are our guidelines and expectations that we use for the D'Amico Restaurant Beverage Program. Please come join me on our voyage. Okay. Welcome back. We're going to be discussing on our first leg of the journey sparkling wine service. The reason why we're going to start off by talking about sparkling wine service is because that is usually the first step that a guest will make if they are ordering wine that evening. It is a great way to start off a celebration, a graduation, a wedding, and it is a great way to start off just a regular day for the guest. Your first step will be to verify and discuss with the host of the table what sparkling wine they would like. Offer suggestions. We have very many different varieties of sparkling wine that the guest may need help with. You first will ring in that bottle of wine. During the time that you ring in the bottle of wine, you will have a little bit of time to grab your glassware, your champagne flutes, and get those ready for service, all polished up and clean. The next step is to grab your ice bucket. The ice bucket should be filled up 70% with ice and 10% with water. We would have all of those ready, and then at that point we would be waiting for our bartender, bar manager, or manager to grab the bottle of wine that we have ordered through the computer. At this point, we would verify the bottle of wine that we ordered and also make sure that we understand how to pronounce the name of the bottle of wine that we ordered. A lot of times it is very unprofessional to walk to a table and not know how to pronounce the bottle of wine. So that is the first step in champagne service. We are going to begin sparkling wine service by starting off at a table that we have set up over here and showing you the proper procedures on sparkling wine service. We have at our disposal 2 clean champagne flutes that we will be setting at the right above the knife of the guest. We have a bucket that is filled up 90% with ice, 10% with water. And we have our bottle of sparkling champagne. This is Cava. Make sure that when you present the bottle to the guest, we read everything that is on the label of the bottle. So this is Marcus de Helida, Cava 2003. That is what the guest ordered. So I will remove the foil, placing the refuse in my pocket. We then remove the cage, turning the cage 6 times. Keep the bottle pointed at a 45-degree angle and turn the bottle, not the cork. We would like to hear the faintest whisper. And we will then place the cork in our pocket. Unless the guest asks so, we usually do not put the cork on the table unless they would like it as a memento. This is only for sparkling wine service. We would then walk to the right of the guest and pour about 1 ounce to 1.5 ounces into the guest's glass. This is known as priming the glass. If we tried to fill the glass up all at once, the bubbles would rise up very quickly and we would not be able to fill the glass. Now that the glass is primed, we can go ahead and finish pouring our glass of sparkling wine for our guests. Putting the bottle back into the ice, placing our napkin on top of the bottle, and stepping away from the table so that our guests can begin their toast and wonderful dinner. Welcome back. After sparkling wine, we are going to be talking about white wine service. But before we start talking about white wine service, there are a few added things that we need to know about white wine and wine service in general. The first part that we need to know is we need to know and understand about wine keys and wine openers. And the second thing we need to understand is about glassware. So I'm going to start with wine keys and wine openers. We expect all of our servers and bartenders to show up to work with a wine key. It is part of your uniform, same as your apron or other attire would be. But along with that, we expect you to have a certain type of wine key. This is a wine key that was probably made about 150 years ago. It is made out of an old vine that is, and they put a corkscrew in the bottom of the vine to pull the cork out. Obviously, this would look very clumsy at a table, and although it's aesthetically pleasing, it is not very useful for a restaurant purposes. The second is a one-stage or one-step wine key. This wine key will work, but especially with Italian wines that have longer corks, a lot of people tend to break the corks off about half of the way. So I do not recommend using this wine key. The third and most preferable wine key to use for service would be a two-stage or two-step wine key. This wine key has a longer corkscrew. It is Teflon coated, so it is very easy to pull out plastic corks or synthetic corks and actually be able to remove them from the corkscrew. With the longer cork, it can also sink further into Super Tuscans, Barolos, Barbarescos, some of these Italian wines that have longer corks that are built to age. And since it can sink in further, we can pull it out with its first step and pull it out into its second step, which makes it look more graceful, and we will have less incidents or less problems with the cork. I will demonstrate how to use this with our red wine opening segment. So these are our wine keys. Our wine glassware, we've already discussed the champagne flute. These are used specifically for sparkling wines. We have an all-purpose wine glass, which is mostly used for our white wines. Chardonnay, Sauvignon, Blanc. Also, this can be used for red wines such as Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon. But for most of our wines, we use this. For our bigger bold glass, we use this specifically for Barolo, Barbaresco, where the grape is Nebbiolo, and for Pinot Noir. The other time that we would use this glass is whenever a guest would ask us to. Oh, hello, sir. Welcome back. How is everything?
Fantastic so far.
Wonderful. Can I start you off with something to try this evening?
Can I try the 2004 Remoluri Rioja Blanca?
Wonderful choice.
Thank you.
So our guest went ahead and ordered a really nice bottle of Rioja Blanca. We are going to go ahead and start off by ringing the bottle into the computer so that we give time for our manager or bartender to go grab the bottle. And at this time, I'm going to go run and grab a glass for our gentleman. I will be using an all-purpose wine glass. Setting this wine glass at the right, the same place as we did before with the champagne flute. We're going to set this to the right above the knife of the guest. We are then going to grab our wine bucket filled with ice, a little bit of water, and our bottle of wine that is nicely chilled for the guest. It's also nice to have a napkin nearby to wipe off the excess water from the bottle. From the right, we are going to show our guests the bottle of wine that he ordered. This is the 2004 Remilluri Rioja Blanca.
Thank you very much.
There are many different schools of thought to opening wine at a table. My rules are to stand to the right of the guest, very simply. And for white wine, a lot of times people will open the wine in the bucket or they will open the wine in the air. The wine should never be opened on the table. It should, in my opinion, I prefer to open the wine in my hand in the air. I throw the napkin over my shoulder, remove my wine key, and I open up the knife of the wine key and cut under the lip of the wine bottle, turning so gently. The reason why I cut under the lip is because if I cut above the lip, there is a little bit of foil that can catch some remaining wine and allow the wine to drip on the table. I put the foil in my pocket, closing the knife. I sink the corkscrew while keeping the label faced toward the guest. I sink the corkscrew into the cork, and I go up my first step. This is the two-step wine key, and up to the second step. I then slowly remove the cork from the corkscrew, set it on the table, and put the corkscrew in my pocket. I then use my napkin to remove any mold or residue from the top of the bottle, and I pour about 1 ounce to 1.5 ounces into the glass and allow the guest to taste the wine to make sure that the wine is suitable for consumption.
That'll be great.
I then pour about another 1 ounce to 1.5 ounces. 2 ounces to about 3 ounces is all I usually end up pouring in the glass. That way you will have enough to get around a table of 6 if you need to be, or even a table of 8. And welcome back. On our last leg of our journey today, during our Wine 101 course, we're going to be talking about red wine service. Red wine service is a little bit more difficult than white wine or champagne service. The reason being is there are many different factors and many different alternatives that we can have with our red wine service. We a lot of times are asked to decant red wines, which is a big mystery to a lot of people, the decanting process, when actually it's quite simple. There are a few things that you're going to need to have available and to know how to use to decant red wines. First of all, we decant red wines for 3 reasons. The first reason is to open up and aerate a young bottle of red wine. The second reason would be to remove sediment from an older bottle of red wine. And we will show you how to do that. The third reason to decant a red wine is whenever a guest asks us to. We are here to serve the guest, so if a guest would like a red wine, even though you may not think that the red wine needs to be decanted, if the guest asks, we are going to decant the red wine for that guest. The other things that you will need to decant will be a clean decanter, a waiter's key or corkscrew, and a candle. I like to use a candle to help me see the sediment in the bottle of red wine. We will be going through all of this step by step to show you and to demystify any of the questions you may have about red wine service. Back to red wine service. If a guest at the table orders a bottle of red wine, of course the first step that we do is we go and bring up the bottle of red wine in the computer. We wait for our bottle of red wine, and if we are unsure if the bottle needs to be decanted or not, we can ask the guest if they would like the bottle decanted, or ask a manager or bar manager if they suggest that the bottle be decanted if you're unfamiliar with the wine. Go over the pronunciation of the wine to make sure that you understand how to say everything and the small appellations that may go along with it. And then go ahead and bring your wine to the table. We would start off with the bottle of wine. If the guest does want the wine decanted, a lot of times, since the tables at some of the restaurants are too small, I will ask the guest if it would be okay if I would decant the wine away from the table. The reason that I do this is so that I don't have my elbows in the way, so that I'm not in the way of the guest and disrupting their conversation. Having said that, if I do decant a bottle of wine away from the table, I always make sure that I am facing the guest, whether it be at a service table or one of the back bars that they have at Campiello in Prairie, Campiello in Naples, and there are plenty of places to decant at over or hot restaurants. Again, that is just so that I'm out of the way of the guest. When you're decanting a bottle of young red wine, we're not worried about sediment, we're not worried about anything else. So we will often describe this as splash decanting. And what we would do is we would remove the capsule. First we would show the guest the bottle. So this is Bourguignon or Pinot Noir from Frédéric Mignon, vintage 2005. If the guest proves that this is the bottle that they selected, we would remove the capsule from the lower lip and remove the cork. If it is a young red wine, I do not mind if the bottle is either on the table, open, or if you want to open in your hand, because we're not worried about moving any of the sediment around. I am not going to give a demonstration on how to decant a bottle of young red wine. It is essentially just pouring it into the decanter and allowing the wine to splash against the back of the decanter. We will now be talking about decanting older bottles of red wine. This is an older bottle of red wine that has had many years to sit in a cellar on its side and collect sediment. Sediment is basically particulate matter that has fallen from the grape juice from the wine to the bottom and has settled toward the bottom. The sediment is partly some of the skins, partly some of the tannins that have fallen to the bottom and settled at the bottom of the bottle of wine. The difficult part is to open up the bottle of wine from this side. So what I suggest that we do in this situation is to gingerly bring the bottle of wine from the cellar and lift it up very gently and allow it to stand at the table for a few minutes. We have our wine key, we have our matches, we have our candle, and we have our decanter all set up and ready to go. At this time, while the wine is settling toward the bottom of the bottle, would be a wonderful opportunity to go ahead and grab our glassware for the table. So we've allowed our wine a chance to settle. And I chose this wine as well for another reason. A lot of more expensive red wines will be packaged in paper. The paper is to keep sunlight away from the bottle. Two things: temperature. Actually, three things: temperature, sunlight, and vibration are the three things that will make wine turn very quickly. So this is ensuring that the wine will stay and last a little bit longer. So we would remove this bottle. This is not something that we would set on the table for the guest. Obviously it is just garbage. So for the time being, again, holding the bottle very gently, we would just crumble this up and place this in our pocket until we can dispose of the refuse. We would then remove the capsule again from the bottom, very gingerly, going around and taking the capsule off. We would then remove the cork. Now, this is a bottle of Italian wine, so we would be able to deduce that the cork is a little bit longer than a cork that would be from California or Oregon. So we want to make sure that we sink this corkscrew down very far, and using our double hinged corkscrew, we would remove the first step and then the second step. As we can see, this is about a 3-inch cork. We would place this cork at the top of the knife, right in front of the guest, to the right of the guest, putting our corkscrew back in our pocket. At this point, we would light our candle. We do not light the candle beforehand because there is a chance that we could catch our sleeve on fire or bump into the candle and light the tablecloth on fire. So we light it at just the last minute. I am right-handed, so I would place the candle to the right of our decanter, the decanter to the left, and begin with our process of decanting.
Alright, slow up for just a second and move the bottle a little bit towards the neck so I can check out the light. How far are you?
A couple inches. Can you see it?
I can't really see it.
You have to get over to me, man.
Is there any sediment?
No. Just show the light through the bottle. Can you see the light through the bottle?
Yeah.
That's all you need to see.
It's just not going to be that great of a shot. You just
stop talking.
I might have it. Do you have any sediment?
Right there.
I got it. That's the sediment right there. Keep going slow. Go slow.
That's it. As you just saw, that was the proper way to decant a bottle of red wine. There was a little bit of sediment left in the bottle. The bottle is actually set up, or a lot of bottles are set up. This is a Bordeaux style bottle. It has shoulders on the bottle, and that actually enables it to catch some of the sediment in looking through. A couple of other things to know when you're decanting a bottle of red wine is there will usually, if there is some sediment, sometimes there may be no sediment at all. If there is a little bit of sediment, it'll usually be about 1 ounce to 2 ounces that I would leave in the bottle. I would go ahead and set that bottle on the table so that the guests can view the label and look at the bottle. Obviously if it's a special bottle for them, they will want to be able to remember it and remember the special occasion. I would also then put the decanter on the table as well. One of the major rules with decanting wine is if you decant a bottle of wine, it is your responsibility to, number one, pour from the decanter, and number two, to clean the decanter immediately after you're done using it. Not at the end of your shift, not at the end of the day, but immediately after. That way we can preserve our decanters and keep them from staining. Very simply, I'm going to show how to pour from a decanter like this into a wine glass. A lot of people have a hard time. They try to grab the bottom or try to grab it in an awkward way. You can grab it from the bottom, and I always like to grab the glass myself, so that way I'm in control of both pieces. The other way to use a decanter is to just grab it by the neck and to pour like this. Either way is fine. Just be very careful and cautious when you're pouring out of a decanter. It gives you a little bit more face time at the table, which would usually increase your tip average and also make guests come back. You might establish some clientele as well from that. Decanting is a skill that is not very difficult, but for some reason people find it to be very intimidating. So I'm going to go ahead and pour a glass of wine out of the decanter and clean up and set my decanter next to my glass. And we will see you again very shortly for our next lesson. Thank you very much.